Hey warriors, here is the last lesson of Unit 7, and this is improving memory. How do you improve memory? We've talked all about forgetting, types of memory, processes, the stages, and in this one, we're going to talk about the ways that you can actually remember those things so you don't forget. You're not going to like what you hear. Memory and improving memory takes practice, as I mentioned in other videos. You have to work to remember the things that you study, and there's no simple way other than to work at remembering things. So let's talk about it. All right, tip number 1 is drill and practice, which is just repeating information over and over. Some ways that you can do that is to use flashcards to quiz yourself. If you're meeting a new person, you repeat their name. Hi, nice to meet you, Ricky. It's good to see you, Ricky. You say it over and over. Drill and practice. Flashcards. You write on one side, what's the capital of Minnesota? On the other side, you write St. Paul, and you practice those over and over and over. And yeah, it's boring, but you can enlist apps. You can use Quizlet. You can use all kinds of stuff online, and that's going to help you to drill and practice yourself. Another tactic that I have added here is something called interleaving. Interleaving is once you have mastered, let's say you have those 10 flashcards and you practice them over and over. And once you have mastery on those 10, then you mix up the words, because the drill is the easy part. The practice is the easy part. When you mix them up, you don't know what's coming next. And that kind of freshens your brain. It's almost like giving it a brain break. So mix up your flashcards when you're practicing the drill in practice. That's not the official definition of interleaving, but it's something like that. I didn't look it up. Another method you can use is elaborative rehearsal. And again, I talked about this in previous lesson. This is why your teachers tell you to put things into your own words. What you're doing is relating this new information into things that you already know. Make it meaningful for you. Make it relevant for you. Get your attention, focus your attention on it, and make it relevant. This is going to help you to gain confidence in the new material that you're getting. When it connects to something that we already know, we can make more connections in the future. And remember that when you're learning new information, you're forming new brain interwebs, interconnections, and it's a beautiful thing. But it doesn't happen unless you practice it. Relate it to things you already know using elaborative rehearsal. We use mnemonics all the time. The term is mnemonics, a technique for using associations to memorize information, which is you use it for, say, the Great Lakes. HOMES is Huron, Ontario, don't make me say them all, Michigan, Erie, Superior, and Roy G. Biv. You use them in all different types of context. Hippopotamus for hippocampus, a hippo on campus. There's loads of ways that you can turn the things that you know into easy to remember techniques. Mnemonics are really useful. And then you have this method of loci. Now I'm going to show you lots of videos about improving your memory, and method of loci is one of them, where you associate well-known locations with information to be remembered. It's fun, it takes practice, and it's one of those things that memory champions use. They will put their memories into places that they're familiar with, and then when they're ready to recall something, they just go to that place in their head and they found that thing that they're trying to remember in the room that they're trying to remember. More on that in class. When we are studying, one of the things that we need to do is distribute our practice. In other words, break up the practice into shorter sessions over a longer period of time. And so if you have an hour over 5 days, you use 15 minutes, 15 times 5, I don't know. You use 15 minutes a day rather than saving it for the 60 minutes the night before the test. Now, I know that is intuitively doesn't sound right to you, but you're gonna get further using distributed practice than you actually would by cramming. I know this is a fact. This is true. And if you buy my story, you're gonna improve your study skills. Distributed practice is better than cramming because it prevents the Ebbinghaus learning curve. Remember that if you learn something new within 9 hours, you've lost almost half of it, more than half of it. So the best thing to do is take your notes and then review it the next morning, review it when you get home, and you're less likely to forget it. Now, other things that we can do is when we're reading a textbook, which I don't know how much reading of textbooks you do anymore, is you read the headings first and then kind of ask questions about those headings. Like, I wonder what they mean by this. I wonder what that is. Or you read the captions of the pictures, and that gives you a better idea about what is to come. You use this PQ4R method, and honestly, to me, as a student, that never worked for me because there's just too many steps. But I will preview headings and know what's coming so that I can think about that as I'm reading. I also, if I'm reading a textbook, will take notes as I read. But some of the best advice here that I think is good is when you do your lecture notes. So I already create an outline for you. It's simple, easy for you to follow, and basically you're just writing down terms for you to review afterwards. So you review your notes as soon as you can when the lecture is over, and that will help you. Oh, I remember when the teacher said this, I meant this, da 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 da. Hey, it's hard work, and it can be time consuming depending on how long the lesson is. But I'll tell you, this is the one thing that led me to success when I was a college student. I had to go home directly after the lectures and recopy my notes because when I was in class, I would write very, very fast because, they're talking fast. So I would redo my notes to make them much more legible because they weren't. And that was what I used to review. So I did the distributed practice as a student, and listen, there's a lot of value in just taking a break. So that distributed practice 15 minutes a day and then take a break from it. Your brain still works on it. That's one of the things that our brain's doing when we're sleeping. Like those new neural networks are being formed while we're sleeping. And so if we take a break, our brain doesn't stop. It still continues to work on problems. Think of video games. When you're playing a video game before you go to bed, you take a rest and then you wake up and you're able to get through that level. Your brain's doing the same thing with schoolwork. You just give it a little bit of a rest after you've worked on it and you're going to be more successful. Now, in the future, I'm going to show you some videos about memory champions and the wonderful things that they can do with their brain because it's very powerful. And you can do it too. You and I could be memory champions as well. Once we practice these techniques and master them, we could do it too. I just am not motivated to do that. I don't have the motivation to become a memory champion. But hey, maybe it's you. I'd love to see it. All right, talk more in class.